In next section, we will learn how to do finite element analysis for truss problems. Trusses are nothing but bar element in 2 dimension. Let me draw one truss. So, for this truss structure, we have 3 element 1, 2 and 3, where node 1 is fixed, node 2 is allowed to move in horizontal direction. Here each element act as bar element, but as you can see element 2 is acting as inclined bar element, whereas element 3 is vertical bar element. This 2D structure consisting of bar inclined at any angle is an example of truss structure. We are assuming constant area along one bar element, and the variational statement can be written as already we have derived this. In truss structure, this equation holds along each element. Let me briefly write the FEM equation with linear element. Where xc hat is the coordinate of the node, for linear element we know this is bxc hat, where b is minus half, so this is essentially LE by 2. LE is the length of the element. This we obtain through chain rule. Using this expression, for each element dx is Le by 2 dxi this B transpose B give us this expression, and integration of dxi give another 2. Now, we have this equation for any element. The element can be inclined with any angle theta. Now, we assume that along the element we have prime coordinate, that is, it is u1 prime, it is u2 prime, and we have global x and y coordinate. So, this UE we can denote as prime. U1 prime, U2 prime. Now, our elemental equation we are assuming it is in this prime coordinate. So, this UE hat is UE prime. We are denoting this stiffness matrix Ke prime. This body force is in prime coordinate B prime. The variation of this U also is in prime coordinate. So, VE prime. So, this bar elemental equation is in general prime coordinate, which is making an arbitrary angle theta with x direction. Now, if you consider this u1 prime displacement of node 1 in two component, one is u1 and another one is v1, it is making an angle theta. So, u1 is x component, v1 is y component. So, we can draw this perpendicular, then this angle is also theta. So, we can write u1 prime as u1 cos theta, this is 90 degree plus v1 sin theta. Similarly, u2 prime is u2 cos theta, v2 sin theta. Now, we denote this cos theta as L and sin theta as M. So, this L is equal to cos theta, which can be written as x2 minus x1 by LE, that is length of the element. Similarly, M sin theta can be written where LE so, from the coordinate of these two nodes 1 and 2, we can find LM, then we can write this u1 prime and u2 prime in terms of x and y component in matrix form as so, we denote this as UE prime, that is nodal values in prime coordinate. We denote this 2 cross 4 matrix as Q and this as UE hat, that is displacement component in global xy coordinate. Two cross 4, 4 cross 1. Similarly, the variation in prime coordinate can be written as QVE hat. Now, the last part of this elemental equation, this can be written as FE prime, load vector in prime direction. So, we can replace VE prime and UE prime with VE and UE. So, if you see, so VE prime is Q VE. So, we can write the elemental equation as VE transpose Q transpose. Transpose of this, then the sequence will change. We keep K prime as it is, then UE prime we can write as Q UE this VE prime transpose again can be written as and finally FE prime, that is load vector in prime coordinate. Now, we can use arbitrariness of variation and we can write where KE as Q transpose KE prime Q Q transpose FE prime. Now, if you see this KE prime is nothing but AE by LE, this 1 minus 1 minus 1 1. So, KE prime is AE by LE 1 minus 1 minus 1 1 and Q is that LM 0 0. If you use these two expression here, then finally you will get KE as if you see this K prime is 2 cross 2, this Q is 2 cross 4 and Q transpose is 4 cross 2. So, this multiplication will result in this 4 cross 4 matrix. So, this is the element stiffness matrix for truss problem. Now, let us see how point load is taken care.
f1 prime cos theta and f1 y is f1 prime sin theta. Similarly, for point 2, prime cos theta in matrix form. In matrix form, we can
now this is nothing but Q transpose. So, if E hat is Q transpose F E prime hat, where this is F E prime, which are the load vector along the element. So, at each node and these are in component form. So, f1 x, f1 y, f2 x, f2 y. So, it is 4 cross 1. So, it is multiplied with this 4 cross 2. So, this 4 cross 2 Q transpose is multiplied with F E hat prime. So, we can see that if we have point load in components, then directly we can write as F E hat, which is essentially our derived Q transpose F E prime. So, in nutshell, if we have body force, we have to first calculate F E prime with this expression, and then we have to pre-multiply Q transpose to get this F E hat. But if we have point load, we directly calculate F E hat with its x and y component. Now, if we want to calculate stress in the element, that is E, and strain in that element, that is the deformation in that element, the total elongation will be u2 prime minus u1 prime by length of this element. we have already derived this u1 prime and u2 prime in terms of this Q matrix and the displacement in component form. So, after obtaining this nodal displacement in component form u1 v1 u2 v2, we can get the stress in that element with this operation. Now, we will understand this truss problem with one example. Now, this is a problem of 4-member truss element. Let us assign some element number 1, 2, 3 and 4. So, the Young modulus is and area is 1 meter square. Now, we assign some element number as well as node number. First, we have to make this coordinate information. So, we assign our origin here. So, node 2 is 40 0, so this is your coordinate data. We make another table for element data. Element number, length of the element, node 1, node 2, then this L which is cos theta, that is x2 minus x1 by LE, then m sin theta which is y2 minus y1 by LE. Now, for first element length is 40, we can select any of these two nodes as node 1 and node 2. The final result will remain same. Depending on the selection of node 1 and node 2, our L and M can be decided.
So, in this case L is 1, M is 0. Then for element 2, LE is 30 for this element, node 1 is 2 and node 2 is 3. Here L is 0, M is 1. Now for element 3, element length is 40. So, it is 3 to 4. Now, because node 1 is 3 and node 2 is 4, so your L will be minus 1 and M will be 0. Now, for element 4, that is for this inclined element, element length will be 50. We are taking this connectivity, node 3 is 3, that is the node 1 and this node as node 2. So, your L will be minus 0.8. So, it is from node 3 to node 1. So, both L and M will be negative. So, for element 4, calculation of L for element 4, because your x2 means the second node, node 1 coordinate is 0, first node x coordinate is 40 and your length is 50. So, it is coming minus 0.8. So, these 2 and 1 are nothing but the selected node 1 and node 2. So, whichever is node 2, that is corresponding to x2 and y2. Now, as you noticed that for any element, the u vector is u1 v1, u2 v2, that is at element level first two are corresponding to node 1, first one is x component, second one is y component. So, for any arbitrary node I, associated global degree of freedom will be 2i minus 1 and 2i. So, these are global degree of freedom. That is for node 3, that global dependent variable vector, that fifth and sixth entry corresponding to u3 and this is corresponding to v3. These are the global degree of freedom. So, in that sense, in your load vector, this 20,000 Newton, that is corresponding to x direction of node 2. Therefore, it is in global load vector in third position. This 3 is coming from 2i minus 1. So, this is corresponding to x and this is corresponding to y. Now, this 25,000 Newton, that is in y direction for node 3. So, it should be F6, 2 into 3 6. This sign is according to our coordinate direction, because it is in negative y direction. So, minus 25,000. Also, here the F5, that is x direction there is no force on fifth node, also it is free. So, F5 is 0, that is in x direction for node 3. All other degree of freedom, they are prescribed. So, for first node U1 and U2, they are prescribed, those are for first node in x direction and y direction. For second node U4 is prescribed because the movement is restricted in y direction. For fourth node U7 and U8, they are prescribed. So, all these are 0. So, you can notice there are total 8 degree of freedom. Out of that, for 5 degree of freedom, displacements are prescribed, and for remaining 3, force are prescribed. So, either displacement or the force will be prescribed for a particular degree of freedom. Now, we understand the MATLAB implementation for truss problem with respect to this example. This MATLAB function return element stiffness matrix for one element, where input is Young modulus, area of the element, and this x is the coordinate vector. So, for a particular element, we supply this coordinate vector as corresponding to x and y coordinate for local node 1 and local node 2. So, Lx is nothing but x2 minus x1. For this vector, your x2 is stored in the third position of that vector. So, x3 is nothing but this third entry. So, the third entry of this x vector is nothing but x2. So, x2 minus x1. So, that gives us Lx. Similarly, the y intercept of that element, this is y2, the fourth entry of x vector, and this is y1. So, finally, this is the length of the element. Then we know these are the L and M, and if you see, this is our element stiffness matrix. So, we write the same expression here, and this Ke is the output of this function, which is the element stiffness matrix for that element. Now, we see our main MATLAB program. So, for first element, this x vector which we are supplying to this function. So, if you see, so that is x1 y1. So, for first element, first node is 1. So, x1 y1, second node is 2, x2 y2. So, 0 0 40 0 in this sequence. You can see for second element, first node is 2. So, 40 0 is x1 y1, second node is 3. So, 40 30. So, 40 0 40 30 is our x vector for second element.
only this x vector is changing from element to element, because all the elements have same Young modulus and same area. Similarly, for fourth element, first node is node 3, that is 40 30 is x1 y1 node 3, second node is node 1, that is 0 0. So, 40 30 0 0, that is for fourth element. You can see here 40 30 0 0. Thus, we have element stiffness matrix for all the 4 elements. So, here I have written this K1, K2, K3 and K4. These numbers, they are associated global degree of freedom. So, for element 1 it is node 1 and node 2. So, global degree of freedom are 1 2 3 4. For second element, so if you see 1 2 3 4, these are the global degree of freedom. For element 2, it is first node is 2, second node is 3. So, global degree of freedom is 2i minus 1, where I is 2. So, 3 4 5 6. So, we have to give this global degree of freedom number to each row and each column, which helps us in assembly. For element 3, we have taken first node as node 3, second node as node 4. So, 5 6 7 8, element 3 5 6 7 8. For element 4, that is this inclined element, we have taken first node as node 3, second node as node 1. So, it should be 5 6 1 2. Associated global degree of freedom are 5 6 with node 3. So, 5 6 1 2, 5 6 1 2. Now, our global stiffness matrix is of size 8 cross 8. During assembly, individual element stiffness matrix will be entered in the position corresponding to this global degree of freedom. So, first we assign this 8 cross 8 0 matrix, then K1, because it is the first assignment. So, I am directly assigning 1 4, 1 to 4 and 1 to 4. You can see for first element, these are the global degree of freedom. For second element, global degree of freedom 3 4 5 6. So, it will be contributing in this row and column of global stiffness matrix. So, we have added 3 to 6, 3 to 6, this second element stiffness matrix. For third element stiffness matrix, it should be added to 5 6 7 8, and the fourth one in the location 5 6 1 2. So, these are the location of global stiffness matrix where K4 will be added. So, after this assembly operation, you will get this global stiffness matrix, where, for example, suppose this 6 6 entry, it is coming from, so this 6 6 that is appearing in second K2, K3, 6 6 and K4.
So, in Ke2 it is the in local 4 cross 4 matrix, the 4 comma 4 position is for global 6 comma 6. So, 4 comma 4 position, that is 9.8 triple 3 5. Here you can see this is that entry. Similarly, for Ke3 the local position is 2 comma 2. The 6 global 6 comma 6 is coming in local 2 comma 2. So, here it is 0, and for from 4th element stiffness matrix again it is coming from local 2 comma 2, that is 2.124 E5. Now, after adding these 3 you get 1.1957 E6. For your understanding, the similar entries are marked with similar bracket. For example, this 6 comma 6 are in this red square bracket from Ke2 as well as from Ke3 and from Ke4. So, all these 3 red square bracket are the same position in global stiffness matrix, which is 6 comma 6. In global stiffness matrix also 6 comma 6 is this red square bracket. Similarly, the 5th row and 6th column. So, that 5th row and 6th column. So, this is the 5th row and 6th column. So, in Ke2 it is 3rd row 4th column. So, Ke2 3rd row 4th column, these are the local position. In Ke3 it is 1st row 2nd column, 1st row 2nd column. For Ke4 that global 6th, 5th row and 6th column is coming 1st row 2nd column. So, all 3 will be added and these are marked with this, these are marked with this curly bracket. Here you can see this 5 comma 6, these are this blue curly bracket for element 2. For element 3 again the same type bracket, for element 4 the same type bracket, and all they assemble in this 5th row 6th column. Also I am writing it with same bracket for your understanding. Similarly, all other entry which are denoted by distinct bracket are coming from the same position, which are denoted by same type of bracket. Now, we will see how to develop the load vector for this problem. Here, as we have mentioned that because there are only point loads, we will take care those at global level directly. Already I explained that for the given forces we have F3. This 3 is the global degree of freedom because this is corresponding to node 2 in x direction. So, we know for global node I, the associated global degree of freedom are 2i minus 1 in x direction and 2i in y direction. So, it is F3 which is in x direction for node 2, that is 20,000 Newton, and on the third node in negative y direction, because it is in y direction. So, it is 2 into 3, that is 6. So, F6, and this negative sign take care of that direction, and also on this node
there is no force in x direction. So, F5 is 0. Other degree of freedom are controlled by given displacement constraint for node 1 and node 4, because they are hinged. So, both x and y displacements are 0. So, u1, u2, u7, u8 they are 0, and for node 2 y displacement is 0, that is u4 is 0. So, these are the forces. Now, so we can write our global load vector. Let me give the number of, let me give the global degree of freedom number. Now, F3 is 20,000, F6 is minus 25,000 and F5 are 0. All other nodes are also, there is no force. So, this is our global load vector. If we see in the MATLAB code, here first I assign a 0 vector of 8 cross 1, then the third position and sixth position I give those respective point load value. Now, we have to impose the boundary condition for given problem. As I already explained, these are the prescribed degree of freedom which are 0. So, corresponding row and column of the global stiffness matrix has to be eliminated. So, 1, 2, 4, 7, 8 this rows and columns. So, we eliminate first row, first column, second row, second column, because u2 is 0. Now, if you see u4 is also 0. So, fourth row and fourth column, and also u7, seventh row, seventh column, and u8. So, only active degree of freedom, that is non prescribed, they are u3, u5 and u6. So, our reduced stiffness matrix will be 3 cross 3. So, this is our reduced stiffness matrix, where these are active degree of freedom and these are the reduced load vector. Because you have 0 prescribed displacement, so load vector remain unchanged. So, this is the reduced 3 cross 3 equation for the truss problem. Let us see the corresponding MATLAB implementation. Now, only third, fifth and sixth, these three are active degree of freedom. So, in our reduced stiffness matrix, only we are considering corresponding row and column, that is 3, 5 to 6, 3, 5 to 6, that is it will take 3, 3, 3, 5, 3, 6, 5, 3, 5, 5, 5, 6, 6, 3, 6, 5 and 6, 6. So, these are our active entry in our reduced stiffness matrix, that is done here. Similarly, we get the reduced load vector. After that, we use K inverse F for that reduced equation to get this U reduced, that is the solution. So, these are our solution. We have also added the prescribed displacement U1, U2, U4, U7 and U8, which are 0. So, this is our total displacement vector, that is for the entire problem. Now, in order to get the reaction force, we pre-multiply our global 8 cross 8 global stiffness matrix with this displacement vector, that is that 8 cross 8 matrix is operated on this 8 cross 1 vector to get our reaction force F. So, you can see in this F vector, this F3, F6, these are our given displacement. F5 is 0. So, this is in computer precision almost 0. Now, the other entry are corresponding to reaction forces. So, this is the reaction force at node 1 in x direction, this is in y direction. Similarly, because our for node 2, if you see the problem, for node 2 the y displacement was constrained. So, we have some reaction force on node 2, that is corresponding to U4 or F4. So, here this is that reaction force. Similarly, for node 4, these are the reaction force in x and y direction. If you see in MATLAB code, here first I make that global displacement vector 8 cross 1, then we do K UN, where K is your 8 cross 8 global stiffness matrix to get this Fr, that is the reaction force. So, let me show you the output at different steps. If you remove this semicolon, you can see the output at that step. So, this is our load vector, global load vector, where F3 and F6 are non-zero. Then after imposing boundary condition, we have this reduced stiffness matrix. This is our reduced load vector, that is 3, 5, 6, those are our active degree of freedom corresponding to those row and those column. These are reduced stiffness matrix and reduced load vector, and after doing K inverse F, we get this U reduced. These are the U3, U5 and U6. These are the unknown displacements. After that, we combine the known and unknown displacements. These are our complete displacement vector. If you operate that global stiffness matrix on this, you get this reaction force, where you can see F3 and F6 are the known values, and F1, that is reaction force at node 1 in x direction, F2 reaction force at node 1 in y direction. Here also the same rule, 2 I minus 1 is corresponding to x direction in ith node,
and 2i is corresponding to y direction of ith node. So, these are reaction force at node 1 in x direction and in y direction. This is the reaction force at node 2 in y direction, that is roller support, and these are the reaction force at node 4 in x and y direction.